Hi. So today I thought we'd do a little bit of work on feet. As most of you know, if you've followed me at all, I do like to bring everything back to the feet because it creates our horizontal muscle group, the soles of the feet, on which we have our pelvic floor stacked, our diaphragm stacked, and the deep neck flexors and throat muscles up here, which create our internal scaffolding. And if they are not functioning well, we can find that we have patterns of tension and things showing up in our bodies. So it's really important to get our grounding and our scaffolding working in order to give us free movement as we age. So what I've got is I've got several different balls. Any ball will do. I'm going to use the spiky ball to start rolling and then the golf ball for trigger pointing, but you can use a tennis ball for the whole lot, or your spiky ball for the whole lot, or a golf ball for the whole lot. It doesn't matter, whatever you've got to hand. I've got a loop band. These are very useful. I'm going to use it doubled up. So if you don't have a loop band and you only have long pieces of TheraBand, it might be too cumbersome. So you could get a pair of old tights and tie a knot in to make a loop, or there's bound to be something you can use around the house to modify something to go around your big toes when we do some footwork. I also have a Pilates block, which I'm going to do some leg work on for balance and things. I've also got a yoga block blocked up against a chair. You can put it against a wall if you've got a wall near you, to do some toe stretching through the back of the calf. All will be revealed as I go through. So what we're going to do to start with, I'm going to take my big spiky ball, place it under one foot, and we're going to roll it through the foot, thinking of spreading the toes as you send the foot forwards and bringing it back. Sending the toe forwards, spreading the toes, really opening up the soles of the feet and being consciously aware of the sensations through the foot as you do this, really trying to open and create softness and wake up the sole of the foot. If there's any bits that feel particularly tight where you're rolling, then give them a little bit more time and effort into the arches, into the outside arch, behind, underneath the ball of the foot, in front of the heel. And then you're going to place that foot down, and always take a moment when you place it down just to let the brain recognize any changes in the foot that you've worked compared to the foot you haven't. Do you feel more awareness of the sole of the floor beneath your foot? Have you got a more awareness of the foot placement on the floor? Just noticing those things, because we need to build up that sensory connection with the foot in order to improve foot function, and therefore taking that moment to do that is really important. Same foot. I'm going to use a golf ball, but you can use any ball. We're going to place it just behind the ball of the foot, underneath the sole, in the middle of the foot. My heel is on the floor and the foot is draped over the ball, and I'm letting gravity just allow the foot to let go and sort of melt around the ball. You may feel some tightness across the ball of your foot. You're just looking for letting go of that foot. And then you're going to move it forwards, or it's going to move your foot forwards so the ball rolls backwards, and I'm stopping probably halfway through the foot. Again, my heel is down and I'm just going to let the foot sort of drape over the ball. So I'm trying to let go of any tension through that foot and just let everything soften. And whilst you do that, you just want to keep a slow, steady movement of air in and out, thinking of drawing the air down into your belly rather than breathing up into your breastbone. Think of that soft, continuous movement of air. No breath holding, no tension. We're wanting to get rid of tension in our body. Then I'm going to step forward with my other foot so I can move the ball backwards through the foot. So now the ball of my foot is down and the ball is rested just in front of my heel bone. And again, I'm not pushing, I'm just resting the heel, or just in front of the heel, over that ball, and just letting gravity, the weight of my leg just sink down into that ball. And again, continuous, slow, steady breath. And You can do each point for 30 seconds or you can do a minute. Notice the results you get when you do it with me today for shorter periods, and if you find it beneficial you can make the holds longer and really try and let go, give in to gravity, let everything soften. Then we're going to come to the little knobbly bit down towards the back end of the foot. It's about 2/3 down the foot on the outside, and you're going to put the ball there, whichever ball you're using. My heel is down, and then I'm just going to try and let go of the forefoot and let gravity do its job. And again, breathe, don't hold your breath, because it can be a little bit gnarly in some of these points. So if it's feeling a little bit intense, just maybe soften a little bit, try and make sure you're not pressing and you're just letting go. And then you're going to come onto the instep on the inside, halfway along between the toes and the heel. And again, just let the foot drape over the ball, letting it go. Keep the breath moving slowly. Try not to hold or fix. Try to let go. And then the last point we're going to go is just below the knuckly joint at the base of the big toe. And again, heel is on the floor and I'm just letting go. I'm letting the foot sink over the ball. Giving into gravity, allowing the heaviness in your limb just to allow that sort of pressure down into the ball. And then you're going to take the ball out of the way and you're going to place the feet next to each other, and you're going to just take that moment now to feel the foot that you've rolled and then done the trigger pointing on compared to the foot you haven't rolled or done the trigger pointing on. And hopefully you'll notice a big difference. And what you want to do on the foot that you've worked is you want to imagine that perfect footprint in the sand with each of the toe pads, the lovely shape of the ball of the foot, the lovely arch, and then down the outside of the foot and a nice central weight into your heel bone. You want to imagine that foot that you've just increased the sensory awareness of into your brain, making that perfect foot imprint into the floor. And then we're going to do exactly the same on the other side. So you're going to start off with that lovely sweeping movement from the ball to the heel, working in the direction of venous and lymphatic return, softening, loosening the tissues through the sole of the foot. If you've been shod all week and not had a chance to be barefoot, you're just waking everything up, trying to reconnect the brain with the sole of your foot. Working through. And then you can take a little bit of time on that instep, a little bit of time on the outer arch, and then a little bit just below the ball of the foot, just in front of the heel of the foot in preparation for the work we'll do with for me I'm using a firmer ball with the next bit of work. And then we're going onto that golf ball. Before we do the golf ball, or whichever ball you're using, just take a moment to feel how much you've managed to wake up the sole of that foot. Just allow it to settle into the floor. You may not find it's quite as awake as the foot that you did first because you've rolled it and woken it up a bit, but maybe there's still a difference between the two. I can still feel quite a strong difference having just rolled it and not trigger pointed it compared to the foot that I've done both with. So you're looking to just notice the differences. Placing the ball just behind the ball of the foot, so you're not on the knobbly bony ends, you're just behind that in the centre of the foot. Heel is down, foot is just draping over the ball. So you're not pressing down, you're just trying to let go of tension, allowing the weight of the limb to sink down over the top of that ball. And keeping that breath slow and steady. Continuous in and out movement, no gripping or splinting of the diaphragm. You want to keep the breath and the diaphragm moving with your breath so that you keep softness through your body and you don't develop those fixing strategies. Rolling the ball backwards on the foot by sending the foot forwards. I've now got the ball directly under the centre of my foot, and again my heel is still rested, but I'm letting go of the foot onto that ball. Trying to let it go, trying to let go of any holding or tension. Keeping that diaphragm gently moving down and up. So you're not wanting to breathe up here. You're wanting to breathe in, pull the diaphragm down to draw the air down into the bases of your lungs, and then let the air go back out. Breathing in and breathing out. Breathing in and breathing out. And then coming just in front of the heel bone, and again allow the weight of that leg just to sink down into the ball. If there's tension or discomfort, the tendency will be that you'll want to slightly tighten your body or splint your diaphragm. I want you to soften your body, soften the diaphragm, keep it moving with the breath, letting go. And then we're going to come out onto the little knobbly bit about a third of the way forwards from the heel, and just allow the foot to soften. This one for me is always really tight, so I can notice a little bit of tension in my lower leg as if I'm wanting to hold the foot off the ball. So then I have to try and let go of that lower leg so I can let the foot just soften down over the ball. And then I'm going to come across to the instep, again halfway through the foot on the inside. Just again, see if you can let go of any holding in that lower leg or even in the upper leg. Noticing your body and how it reacts to different stimulations, and whether you get sort of reactions to tensing if something doesn't feel fully comfortable, and whether you can then just let go. Give your foot away. And then the last one is just below the knuckle of that big toe. Again, just letting that foot go. No tension in the muscles in the front of the shin. You're just letting the foot give in to gravity and sink down over that ball. The diaphragm is continuing to flatten as you breathe in and then rise back up as you breathe out. Keeping that continual gentle movement of air. You're not over breathing, just a small volume of air in and out. And releasing off. And then placing both feet down and just imagining those perfect imprints in the sand. From there, we're just going to, I'll go sideways on so you can see, you're just going to tip your weight forward. So all the weight is coming into the balls and the toe pads, and your heels could lift off at this point. Then you're going to bring your weight back and you're going to bring it all the way back into your heels. At this point, your toes could lift off, but you're keeping them down. And then coming forwards again into the balls, so your heels are literally just as if they were lifting off. And then coming back into your heels as if your toes were going to lift off. And then finding that position in between those two extremes where your weight feels like it's evenly distributed between the balls of your feet and your heels. That's where you want to live. You don't want to live in the balls of your feet. You don't want to live dumped into your heels. You want to find that lovely lightness between the balls and your heels, so your feet feel like they're reactive and they can respond, and you're not heavy and sinking down into those feet. So find that feeling of energy in those feet. We're then going to get the loop band, and I'm just going to twist it in the middle, so I'm shortening it, making it half the length that it would be otherwise. And then I'm going to loop it over round my big toes. So I'm putting it around my big toes, and then I'm going to stand with my feet sort of hip width apart, maybe slightly wider, whatever you need to get a little bit of tension in the band, so that it's holding your big toes really straight up, so they're not leaning in towards your second toes, and you're probably creating a bigger gap than normal between your big toe and your second toe. And then what I want you to do is ground the balls of your feet and your toe pads, all of your 10 toe pads, down gently into the floor, and you're just going to hover your heels up and lower your heels down. Hover your heels up and lower them down. And I want you to focus on pressing the big toes down. If you tend to drift out into the little toes, which I can sometimes do, bring your attention back to the bases of your big toes and your big toe pads, and try and bring your weight forwards into there. And just bringing forwards and down, and forwards and down. And then keeping the balls of the feet and the heels nice and strong into the floor, lift all 10 toes off the floor and then press all 10 toes down. Lift all 10 toes off the floor, press all 10 toes down. Lift them all up, press them all down. Keep the 4 other toes on each foot down, but lifting just your big toes and then big toes down. Big toes up, big toes down. Big toes up, big toes down. Big toes up, big toes down. Keep the big toes down. Can you lift the other 4 toes up? They might just hover. Mine don't lift very high, but keeping the big toes down, lift up the other 8 toes and down. Lift and lower. Lift and lower. Lift and lower. And then we can take this one off, and we're just going to keep the feet grounded, and we're going to do a foot series. I'll go sideways on so you can see. If you need to hold on to anything for this, you're welcome to. I'm going to try to do it without. So we're going to lift the heels up, bend the knees forwards, release the heels down, straighten the legs. So lifting, bend the knees forwards, lower the heels, straighten. Lift the heels, bend the knees, lower the heels. So you're just going to go round in this circle of movements through the leg. And then once you've done the individual movements, see if you can make it a continual movement between them, so it's less of individual movements and more a continuous motion of the lower leg. And you should feel the feet working quite hard. And then we're going to reverse it, so we go knees first, then heels, then straighten the legs and then lower. Bend the knees, lift the heels, straighten the legs and lower. Bend the knees, lift the heels, straighten the legs, lower. And then again you can make this more of a continuous smooth motion, working through those lower limbs. Trying not to have any tension or gripping or fixing. You're trying to find this lovely circling backwards without overly fixing, trying to keep the movement smooth and coordinated. And finishing off with that. Then we are going to grab a block and we're going to put our toes on the block. I'm going to grab a roller just for balance while I'm talking. So the balls of the feet are on the roller, and then we're just going to lower the heels down and then push back up. Lower the heels down, push back up. I've barely got any hand holding on the roller, but it's there if you need balance. If you want to do this in front of a wall, you can have the wall there for balance if you need it. And you're just reaching the heels down and then pushing up. Reaching the heels down and pushing up. Reaching the heels down and pushing up. Reaching the heels down and pushing up. And then we can go the other way where you've got your heels wobbling off the row. You've got your heels on the step. Again, I've got something just in front of me while I get the movement, so you can have a wall in front of you. And you're going to reach your toes down to the floor and then lift them up. Reach the toes down to the floor and then lift them up. Reach down to the floor and lift them up. And reach them down to the floor and lift them up. It's easier if you hold on. I feel more confident to lift them up and rock onto my heels. But if I haven't got that there, I don't feel I can lift them as high. So you can play around with it and see what you feel. So for me, my body feels more vulnerable without me holding on for this one, because my balance isn't, I haven't done this one a lot of times, so my body is just learning the patterning. that one you'll start to feel a little bit of the tibialis anterior waking up. Then the last thing we want to do, you can do this one against the wall. I'm using a yoga block for this because it's slightly taller and I've got very long toes. So you're going to slide your toes down the block. So what we're trying to do is get that toe extension. You can do this against a wall as well. You can slide your toes down the wall, trying to get the ball of your foot as close to the wall as possible. And then what you want to do is then you send your knee forwards towards the wall. And you want to, ideally, if you're doing this against a wall, you want your knee to be able to touch the wall with your toes in that extended position. So that means that when your toes are in full extension, you've still got the muscle length down the back of your calf to take your knee forwards over your foot. A lot of runners might find that that's really tight, but you're just wanting to check that out. Mobilizing both the toe joints and the tendons running up through into the back of the calf. And then do the same with the other foot. So slide, if you're against the wall, slide the toes down the wall, or if you're using a block, you can do that. You can put the block against the wall and do it that way, but then you're sending your knee towards being over the top of the toes. You ideally want the knee to be able to go past the toes, where the toes finish in this upright position, for your good range of movement through the back of that calf. So just give that a go. It's a good addition to your general calf stretching regime. If you do any calf stretching, this is a good additional stretch. I'm releasing off. So that gives you a few little exercises just to work through your foot range of movement and strength and coordination, waking it all up, getting those feet underneath you so you feel stronger and more grounded when you're moving around in the day. And actually it's amazing, everybody I see who I tend to start off with feet always come back and have really loved the footwork, because it really grounds them for the rest of the day, and they feel they're more aware of their movement, they're more aware of their core engagement, because it's setting them up to work from the feet up. So give it a go and see how you find it, and hopefully you might find it's really stimulating for those feet and you feel more aware of your movement during the rest of the day or the week. Enjoy. See you soon.